More than a century ago, when Texas built its rail system, there was little anticipation of what the Lone Star State would become. Today, the same basic freight lines are stretched to the limit, and far more people live near those tracks, and far more traffic maneuvers across those lines. The demand to transport additional freight is pushing more big rigs onto our highways, and the booming population far outpaces our ability to build more roads. The escalating problem is a threat to public safety and our economic growth. On November 8th, Texans will have the opportunity to launch the process to move freight lines out of urban areas, an effort that will move people and goods faster and more safely across Texas. Texas typically earns the dubious distinction of being #1 in the nation in rail accidents. The state averages 400 vehicle-train collisions and derailments each year, and is usually among the top 5 nationally in rail accident deaths. Those accidents occur in all corners of the state. There's also growing concern over the number of those accidents involving hazardous chemicals in recent years. In San Antonio, 2 trains collided, releasing thousands of pounds of chlorine gas into a nearby neighborhood, killing 3 people and injuring 50. This fiery train crash in Texarkana destroyed 2 homes and forced hundreds to evacuate. And 1 rail worker was killed and 2,000 residents evacuated after this collision and derailment in Shepherd, northeast of Houston. An average of almost 1 in 5 train accidents involves hazardous chemicals. The issue of growing communities near freight lines has prompted many cities like San Marcos to take a closer look at their rail systems. The crossings cut off 60% of the city on major streets, commonly stranding emergency vehicles.
And above that, to the east, you can see the San Marcos Hospital, Central Texas Medical Center. You'll note that the hospital is cut off from the city by these railroad tracks. We run about 30 trains a day, some of them very long.
The frustration and safety threat has prompted community leaders like Billy Moore to work for decades to try to get the freight lines moved outside the city. But it's difficult for one community to take that on alone.
It's a political issue, a social issue, an economic issue, a public safety issue. Various people come at it from various directions, but all are in agreement. We must fix our transportation system.
San Marcos is like most Texas cities, with the freight lines compounding an already serious problem with congestion. Highway capacity is not keeping up with demand. Since 1980, the number of registered vehicles in Texas jumped to nearly 19 million, up 61%, while the amount of roadway to drive on increased only 8% in that same time. And with NAFTA pushing up freight traffic, those numbers are expected to grow even faster, with more trucks and more wear and tear on our highways. Proposition 1 is a constitutional amendment that will create the Texas Rail Relocation and Improvement Fund. It would allow the state to begin working with railroads to move freight lines out of urban areas, something that would have enormous public benefits. Moving rail lines out of urban areas would dramatically cut down on the number of times that trains and vehicles meet and reduce the amount of hazardous materials being shipped through population centers. Moving freight lines outside cities will also allow railroads to carry more freight, rather than adding 18-wheelers to our highways. Plus, it will decrease traffic delays at rail crossings.
We would reduce the amount of maintenance we've got to do on our highways. We would improve public safety. We would help our economy grow by moving goods more efficiently, faster, and more safely.
In addition to freight capacity jumping, Proposition 1 would also help pave the way to obtain right-of-way from relocating railroads, for commuter rail, or highways to reduce gridlock. And with fewer cars idling waiting for trains to pass, vehicle emissions will be reduced and help communities meet federal air quality standards.
And it really has to do with making our state more competitive. We cannot continue to grow population-wise and in terms of the amount of freight traffic that we're moving unless we can find a more efficient way to move that freight. It's a problem in Houston, it's a problem in Fort Worth, it's a problem in San Antonio, it's a problem in Laredo, it's a problem in Dallas. It's a statewide issue.
Proposition 1 and the Rail Relocation and Improvement Fund is an investment in our future.